Hoi hoi folks, good morning, good afternoon and good evening wherever you are in the world. My name's Sean, aka Uncle Frogface, and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, then welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. And if you're not new, you'll know that every month we do a Prompt Squad video, and that is today's video. So our Prompt Squad prompt this month was the style of Quentin Blake. So for those of you that don't know, Prompt Squad is just a group of friends. We get together, we create a piece of artwork each based around a particular prompt, and then one of our group, Jasmine, also shares all of the pieces on her channel. So I'll leave links down to for that. I will leave links for that down below. Make sure you go and check it out, and check out the other amazing artists for the month, and some of the past ones as well. So as I said, this month it is in the style of Quentin Blake, which is something I'm very excited about because actually I love Quentin Blake's work. It's something that I've played with quite a lot. In fact, I've got some, yeah, I thought so. I've got some kind of old sketches here that I've got for Quentin Blake style, which I used as reference for what I'm going to be doing today. But more than just our pieces of artwork, and it's pieces today, not singular, I'm doing a bit of a review for a light box that was sent to me. So, let me tell you a bit about what I'm doing today, and then we'll talk about the light box. So, I am a massive horror fan. As some of you know, I'm a horror writer as well, horror author. So I'm really influenced by classic horror. So what I wanted to do was to mix the world of Quentin Blake's childlike and child-friendly illustrations from things like Roald Dahl and David Walliams books, and mix it with classic horror. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and sketched 3 ideas, and I can't decide which one I'm going to do, so I'm just going to do all 3. So we're going to have 3 today. And then this light box that have been sent to me. So, well, I'll tell you what, let's turn the camera around and we'll actually unbox it together and have a proper look. What do you say? Okay, so this is the box that we're unboxing today. It's slightly bigger than the boxes I usually unbox. The smaller boxes are much smaller than this. But I'm just going to release this. So this is a company called Elice. This is an A3 light box. So I actually have down here, you'll have seen this before, this is my A4 light box. And I use that very often, particularly when I'm doing inking, which is what we're going to be doing today. But let's have a look at this, because this has some features I think will be very interesting. So I have cable here, we've got packaging, got, and that's some kind of colour and tracing sheets. We'll have a look at those in a minute. And this here is the actual light box. So move that out of the way. LED, I keep saying light box, a light pad technically, I suppose. So this has a little magnetic clip up here, so you can clip down anything that you are working on, which is very handy. Got some information here on how to use this. So I'm going to pop that aside because these are fairly self-explanatory. Let's have a little look at these sheets whilst I've got them. And get it open. And this really isn't my kind of thing, these sheets, but they came with a package. So let's have a look. We have a dolphin, we have a dog. Oh, that's cute. That's actually quite nice. So you got a parrot and a budgie, a rat, another dog, and then a fly. Okay, so those are the sheets that come with the light pad. I'm going to pop those aside because I don't really have any use for those. This has a protective film on it. Oh. Is there anything more satisfying than peeling off? So does this have... Yes, so one of the main features of this light box is that you actually don't need the cable. It has inside a rechargeable battery. Also has a stand, which I believe just pops out. And you can position it wherever you want. Yeah, the stand is not great. I'm just at the side here having a look. It's great that there is an adjustable stand, however, it bounces. You can see as I'm pressing on that, the whole thing is bouncing, and it's because the actual back, so these legs, don't actually sit flat on the floor, so they need to bend, which means the whole thing, I mean, it's not very stable either. I'm just wondering if these were just raised a little bit, whether that would alleviate the bend. No, of course that's actually going to make it worse. So for me, I'm not going to be using the stand. In fact, I'll make sure it's all tucked away properly. There we go, that's what that looks like. It just clips into place. Would be nice as a carry handle, but yeah, not for me. Magnetic clip though, love this. And then, so we have 3 different light settings, and it's adjustable in dimness and brightness. In fact, let's turn these off. There we go. Let's have a proper look. So adjustable brightness, adjustable colour. There we go, so we have a cool light, so that's off. We have a cool light, have a warm light, and we have kind of a natural light. I tend to go for a natural light, it's much easier on my eyes. Okay, it's the Lightpad, and of course because it has a battery in it, it means I can take it away from my desk and do whatever I need to do, sit on the sofa, do some work there. I'm not tied to my desk to be able to do work, which is great. Let's just test this magnetic catch-up. Oh, that's good. That is going to hold things in place. I do still use washi tape when I'm holding things down, but that's going to hold paper really well. In fact, I've got some more folded paper here. Let's fold these over and see how powerful these magnets are, how much it could hold. So fold it over several times, that's a little bit too much. Oh, but actually the other way. Fine, and that's going to hold that in place. So, brilliant. Right, okay, light box off. Let's show you some drawings. Okay, so, before we get into the sketches that I've done today, I want to talk a little bit about Quentin Blake's work and kind of the method that he goes through. That's actually quite close to my own, except I've only recently got into watercolours. But his inking is usually done with dip pens, so that's what I'm going to be using today as well, along with some Jackson's India ink, because this ink very quickly is incredibly waterproof, and I absolutely love it. It's really, really great for this kind of thing because you can go over it with any medium and it's not going to lift. So, I said classic horror characters, and when I say classic, one of these is classic. This is from almost the dawn of cinema, Count Orlok. So this is my interpretation, quick sketch of Count Orlok in the style of Quentin Blake. So I'm going to use the light box to trace this through with ink, let that dry, and then colour it with watercolour. So Count Orlok was kind of the predecessor to the Dracula movies. So this is piece number 1. Piece number 2, we're going a little bit forward now in history of cinema and the history of horror. This is a classic Hitchcock. Yeah, it's Norman Bates, completely in his mother's clothing as well, getting ready to slash at the shower curtain. So that is number 2. And then third one, I really had fun with this. So this is, for me, an absolute horror icon. It is, of course, Freddy Krueger. So a nice portrait piece of Freddy Krueger in the style of Quentin Blake. And it's odd that actually I really like these sketches. They've got so much life and fun to them. So I'm going to get myself set up. I'm going to find a pot to put some of this ink in so that I can dip my pens in Maybe I'll just dip them into the bottle. We'll see. That way, danger lays. But I'm going to also get some watercolour paper. So I think I'm going to use some Daler Rowney and cut it down to A5 size. And next time you see me, I'm going to be actually inking these pieces out. So I think we'll do 1, 2, 3 and go in order. So let's get into it. And we are starting off with Count Orlok. So this was really fun, actually, just exaggerating the features that the character already has. I am very impressed with the light pad. It shines through very well. So I was using the natural one, had all of the lights off in the office. It's really important to know with light boxes and with light panels, the darker the room is that you're using it, the easier it's going to be to use. So actually, without the studio kind of office lights on and without the actual main room light on, it was much easier to use. The magnetic clip at the top as well meant I didn't need to use any washi tape. I did use my fingers at the bottom. You can see when I take my hand away, it's paper just raises a little bit. So it is good to hold down in places just so you can see what's happening underneath. So this dip pen, if you've seen other videos of mine, you'll know this dip pen. It's one of my favorites. It was a present from my husband, and it's just a really nice wooden handle, and this is a G pen nib, which really nice tip. It was part of a set, so I always use either the G nib or the crow quill. So crow quill was a little bit fine for this, and the G nib gives a little bit more variation and works a little bit more with that slightly scribbly style as well. So once Count Orlok was finished, it was on to Norman Bates, and I wanted to really kind of mess up the hair a little bit and make sure there was some facial hair as well, so it didn't just look like a lady in a dress, but it looked like a man in a dress instead. And this actually, interestingly, is my second attempt at this one, because the first one I got like 10 lines in, and I started on the right hand side of the piece and then went over to the left hand side and rested my hand right in some wet ink and just smudged everything. So another important tip for you, if you are inking with bottle ink and a dip pen, work from left to right if you're right-handed, and right to left if you're left-handed, so you're not putting your hand where you've just been inking. Again, this one I really enjoyed. I feel like this one wouldn't be out of place in like a Roald Dahl Revolting Rhymes or something like that. Maybe a little bit more graphic, but it's just a little bit of fun. And the ink, actually, Jackson's ink, very cheap. I've got a 300ml bottle, cost me just a few pounds on Amazon. Probably one of my favourite inks to use with my dip pen now, just because it dries so quickly and waterproof. Have Winsor & Newton, which also dries waterproof but takes a very long time to dry. And I have the Kuretake Sumi ink as well, which is not waterproof. And actually, even if it's been down for days, you can reactivate it with a wet brush and spread it around, which is not a bad thing. Water-soluble ink definitely has its place, but when I'm working with watercolours, I want something that is not water-soluble. Freddy Krueger, I'm going much more sketchy with this, I think, obviously, because of the burns over his face. It's something that's needed, and you'll also see that I've offset the page underneath slightly from the one on top, just to reset where the character is on the page, which is just a really nice thing you can do with a light panel. You can adjust things as you want. You can layer multiple images as well to get the thing that you want. And see the white balance there for some reason changes, probably because my hand's not there. One of the dangers of working with a light panel. And then for all of his burns and scars, I'm just going really squiggly. So this is all three pieces now from sketch to ink. And now we just need to colour them. So I'm using, again, my Artistro 48 colour travel set, already activated. And I cannot tell you how much I love these paints. Honestly, love them so much. Always forget that it's actually really pigmented. So what I should have done with this is to wet the page first and then go in with the colours. But actually, it didn't work out too bad. Because of the nature of the paint, it meant that I could push it around to where I wanted. So once I got my kind of base layer in, I was able to move things around, drop in some shadows. So this movie, the original movie for Count Orlok, is a black and white movie. But I know from reference pictures of costumes, because I'm a massive fan of costumes, movie costumes, historical costumes, and I love saying that kind of thing as well. But I know from the reference pictures that actually his coat is brown, so I wanted to really get that earthy deep brown in. So I'm doing that bit of Payne's grey for the trousers as well. I'm really just bringing a bit of colour to an otherwise black and white character. Shoes as well, and the paint again was really pigmented, so I'm just pushing it around a little bit to make sure it's filling the whole space. So I finally decided to get a palette out, and this is actually a different brown, but it wasn't quite as contrasty as I wanted, so I'm adding a little bit of magenta as well, just to lift that colour a little bit. And actually the face will have a little bit of purple in there as well, so it should all balance out. So I'm trying to make a flesh tone now, and this is with flesh and white, and I put a little bit of blue in there, but it completely overpowered it. So I made another little bit to the side and just put a little bit of what was there in. And the face, I'm not doing the whole face, I'm just doing little highlight bits and then lifting some of the paint out as well to add some more white. And then I wanted to highlight the kind of knuckles and the eyes and the tips of the ears with a little bit of this light purple colour. And then finally, just coming in with a slightly different hue of brown and dropping in some shadows. And the same on the trousers as well. Okay, learning from mistakes. This time round, I'm wetting the whole dress. So again, another black and white movie, but I know from reference pictures and from costume research that it is this kind of cornflower, pale, patterned blue. So I'm coming in with this wash first, and I'm attempting to do some shadows with it, but because it's all wet in wet, it's just spreading everywhere. But it's fine. It kind of matches the Quentin Blake style, so I'm not mad at it. Grey hair, obviously, because it's his mother's wig, and she has grey hair. And I want to keep this a fairly cool tone all the way through. So obviously we've got the skin tone, which I'm putting a little bit of bluey green in as well to dull down and to give a bit of that bluish hue as well and to cool the whole colour value down. I really want this whole piece to be cool because it's a black and white movie and because it's set in a bathroom, and I want that kind of clinical tiled feel to it as well. So another shoe. Quentin Blake loves these pointy brogue shoes. I thought, you know what, I hadn't activated it, but let's use some of the metallic silver for the knife and just add something a little bit extra. And actually, I really liked it. I layered it up a couple of times, but it worked really well. Shower curtain and bath is just having a little bit of shading with a very watered down blue and white mix. Same with the floor tiles as well. A nice brown handle on the knife. Now I want to build in some of those shadow tones. Again, this was still fairly wet, but it had dried enough that I could get some differentiation in there and a little bit more shading and shape to the figure. I'm going to do the same on the face as well, particularly around the eyes and the beard. And finally, Freddy. So you'll notice I still had a little bit of blue on my brush, but that's absolutely fine. So Freddy, obviously very scarred and maimed, and I tried to make a dirty skin colour, and again the green just completely overpowered it. So again went in with the Gambeson and the flesh. Is it Gambeson? Gambesol? Whatever that colour is. just to get this base flesh colour, and I'm building this one up in layers. So red and green jersey, I'm going with the green first. And I want these colours to be muted and dull and dirty. to match the character. So the green is quite dull already, and I'm going to be layering this up, so I'm going to try and let that dry a little bit before I come in with the red on the jumper. And whilst I'm waiting for that, I'm going to again use the metallics for Freddy's finger blades, but also use the copper for the glove part as well, because his glove is made of copper with like a brown glove underneath, and then the metal blades on the fingertips. Freddy is one of my all-time favourite characters. I remember watching Nightmare on Elm Street when I was about 6, maybe 7 at a sleepover, and having nightmares for ages, but really, really loving it. So I'm putting down the colour and knocking it back with a tissue, just to get a little bit more grunge and dirt and variation in the skin tone with those burns. And a bit of brown for the glove, and obviously his hat as well, his dirty brown hat. So again, I'm gonna try and build it up in layers rather than just laying down block colours. So now the red layer for the jumper, and again, nice and dirty and quick, and this is just a base layer. So interestingly, little known fact, Freddy Krueger actually has purple gums. So just one of those random horror facts that has always stuck with me. He has purple gums and slightly yellowed teeth. So had to get those purple gums in there. Building up the tones on the hat as well. It's still slightly wet in wet. I think you see he's really starting to come along, using a bit of that red that we had for the jumper on his skin now to bring in more of those burns. So I wanted to really punch up the colours in the jumper and get a bit of kind of bleed and grunge and dirt going on in there. So I'm going in with the red first and then with the green, and using quite a bit of water as well. I'm not marrying too much if the two wet paints touch and start blending, because it's just going to add a little bit more to that grunge. A little bit more red in the face as well for more of the rawness in the burns and on his neck. A little bit of a blue shadow on the glove. And of course we need to finish off his hat. And just like that, we're already at the end of the video. I can't believe it. I've had so much fun with this. I can't believe how much I'm enjoying doing watercolour. Never thought I'd say that. So out of the 3 pieces, we have Count Orlok, just here. There we go, Count Orlok. We have Norman Bates. There you go. With a nice metallic blade in his hand as well. Speaking of metallics, we also have, of course, Freddy Krueger with his metallic glove, so using the copper and the silver. And honestly, I like this one because I like how kind of dirty and grimy it is. I think it fits the character. I like this one because it's very kind of Quentin Blake. But my favourite of all of them is this one. I don't know why, I love it so much. I've wanted to illustrate a children's book for so long. I've got a couple of books in my head that I want to do. My niece has been bugging me for ages. So maybe it'll be something along this style. Maybe not as horror influenced, but you've got to have some horror in children's books, don't you? So I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. It was really fun testing out the new light box from Elice. As always, the Artistro watercolours just were amazing today. I always forget just quite how pigmented they are. I need to get a little palette to go along with this so I can dilute them a little bit more. But more than anything, I hope you've been inspired to kind of mash things together that you wouldn't necessarily think go together, like Quentin Blake and horror. So I encourage you to find your own mashups and create your own pieces of art. Again, I'll leave the links down below for the rest of PromptSquad so you can see past videos and the next video when it is released. But more than that, I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and until next time, goodbye.